Now the Omloop women's race. So the men's race finished, and then Flanders Classics has the women's race finished about an hour and 15 after the men's race finishes, because better for audience retention. I think it's a good idea. 124k stage, not as many climbs or pavé sections. They still got the Molenberg, Leiberg, Berendries, Muur, Kappelmuur, Bosberg combo with then 12k to the finish. So functionally, pretty similar finale, almost identical finale, I think. Which I really like to see. Makes for good comparisons. Start list, super strong as you'd expect, although I misspoke the other day. This is a one pro, not a women's world tour race, but it's got live coverage and a really strong start list. So functionally, it's more important than a lot of the women's world tour races,
Yes.
to be honest. Like Tour of Chongming Island is women's world tour, but Omloop is more important. Van Vleuten's moved over to Movistar. How will she go? Lotte Kopecky at Live Racing. Bastianelli, sprinter at Ale BTC Ljubljana. Grace Brown, can she double down on her cobble success last year at BikeExchange, as well as Sarah Roy, Australian national champ. Got Cavalli and Ludwig at FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine Futuroscope. Hannah Barnes, Nivea Doma at Canyon Sram. Lorena Wiebes, will it be too hard for her at DSM? But the main team, stronger than Quickstep. Not even... Quickstep are the SD Worx of men's cycling. It's not even the other way around, Benji. SD Worx have Julien Dor, if it comes down to a sprint, Christine Majerus, Demi Vollering from Park Hotel Valkenburg from last year has come over, Amy Peters, Anna van der Breggen, the world champ, and Chantal van den Broek-Black, former world champ, winner of Tour of Flanders last year. Ridiculous team. Actually ridiculous. Like... There's so many options. They got Vollering for the climbs. She was the only one that could compete with Van der Breggen and the Mur de Huy and Flesch last year. You got Van der Breggen who can TT away and can do everything. You got Chantal van den Broek-Black, a good cobbler, and then you got Julien Dor for a sprint, and then you got Amy Peters and Majerus to block and bring back breaks. Just ridiculous team. Trek had Deignan, Cordon Rago, and Hosking if it came down to a sprint, and Ellen Van Dijk. That's pretty much the main favourites that I can see on the team sheet, on the start list, rather. Elisa Balsama for Valcar, maybe another name to be mentioned, as well as Emma Norsgaard at Movistar, sister of Matthias Norsgaard. But when we started, the live coverage was spotty until the helicopter came in. I was like, why is this in 240p potato footage? It looked like my old videos. But when I started watching, it was a Group 1, pretty large, with Kopecky, Van der Breggen, Elisa Longo, Borghini, Bastianelli. Second group, I think, had Van Vleuten missing it. Sarah Roy was chasing, but the big names missing were Deignan and Van Dijk. And this was before about 35 Ks to go, 40 Ks to go. So most of the favourites were in that first group, Bastianelli in there as well. But when you saw that, Benji, like, were you surprised that Van Vleuten wasn't right up there? She's been training a lot. I think she might have even done an altitude camp. Did you expect her to slot right in at Movistar, or did you think there might be issues straight away?
I'm not sure it's necessarily issues per se, but I think that she's got less support at Movistar, and certainly for these races. I think Emma Norsgaard is one of the riders that I would also put highly up here in these kind of races. Perhaps Elena, but outside of that, I don't have the names to say, oh, this rider is going to be up there or this rider is going to be up there in that team. I think that's one of the reasons that she's not as much up there in these races. Last year, she had the likes of an Amanda Spratt, who was basically very strong in these kind of races as well, who would be helping her out, and that's not the case here really anymore. So I think that's one of the reasons, but I still expect more, to be honest. I don't know. It feels like just because of the name Van Vleuten that I'd expect her to be a one-woman army against the rest of the peloton again, like 2 years ago. And I think last year, Van der Breggen was the rider that kind of took over that role. And I think during this race, at that point in the race, we already saw a bit of a difference there. But the thing about Van der Breggen is that she is surrounded regarding such a strong team, like you mentioned. So, yeah, perhaps the difference is the team, perhaps, but I don't think it's necessarily so much worse than BikeExchange last year was for her. So I think it's still a bit worse than I expected from Van Vleuten, to say the least.
32 Ks to go. SD Worx just start rolling attacks. First with Demi Vollering, then when she gets caught under Van der Breggen counters. Then Van der Breggen got brought back. So Elisa Longo, Borghini, Kopecky, Liv Racing. They're the teams trying to bring them back every time they attack. I'm going to say right now, someone at the UCI, at the United Nations, at the World Health Organization, somebody needs to make either SD Worx and Liv and Canyon SRAM change their kits. I can't fucking deal with it. It's 3 purple kits that all look the same, particularly SD Worx and Liv. Change it. One of you. Both of you. I don't care. I literally couldn't pick them out. And this is like De Koning and Movistar, Ineos and Alpes and Phoenix. It's not even close to that. It's way worse. So that's just my one gripe, because I was trying to pick people out. It was impossible. I was like, why is this Liv rider closing down her own rider trying to bring back this break? Super weird. And I was like, oh, it's SD Worx. It's Amy Peters and co. But anyway, Vollering goes again at 30. Barnes and Liv were chasing. SD Worx for blocking well with 27 Ks to go. Vollering reached the Mur solo. So she soloed for like a good 10 to 12 kilometers. And then there was a big accelerate. It was kind of like in the men's race when it looked like, oh, is Vollering gone? Is she clear? SD Worx. But then just the headwind or something and the Mur, it meant that gap of 10, 15 seconds could be brought back very quickly with that Kopecky acceleration, Belgian national champ. Cecily Ludwig on her wheel in group 2, chasing behind. Then Elisa Longo Borghini countered, gapping Kopecky. But Benji, this is when I knew. What did you think when you saw Anna van der Breggen half-wheeling Elisa Longo Borghini on the Mur? Did you think, oh, it's trouble?
Yeah, I thought it was trouble because, like, I thought at a certain point that Kopecky was looking really strong for Liv.
Yeah, me too.
Midway to Mura was like, oh, Kopecky, yeah, Belgium, yeah. But then at a certain point, I saw Anna van der Breggen on the left side of the couple just moving up like it was nothing, passing everybody pretty much. And at that point I was like, okay, we've got a Bosberg left. If she does anything there, everybody else will need to get the best of their capabilities out of them. Otherwise, she's gone. And, well, after that Mur we had at the top, that it didn't really form somebody getting away or anything. It was mainly that Vollering was not as far ahead of everybody anymore. And the group behind, it looked like Uttrup Ludwig at the start of the Mur was trying to follow attacks, but towards the end she was almost dropping. That's kind of the take I had there. And basically the people that you would expect to be in that select group at that point were there. But I don't think Van Vleuten was up there in the front, right?
I didn't see her at all, and I was trying to pick her out. I could not see her anywhere. It was all Lisa Longo Borghini, Vollering, and Van der Breggen. It was, Vollering got closed down with 17 Ks to go after the Mur. Van der Breggen countered again, marked by Kopecky. Van der Breggen sat up, so Kopecky got unlucky. And this is the strength of SD Worx, because Van der Breggen doesn't have to work. She's got other riders back in the group, Julian Dor and co., Chantal van den Broek Black, so she was sitting on Kopecky, and those two were clear. So then they got caught again. Elisa Longo Borghini tried to attack on the descent, marked by Vollering and Soraya Paladin, I think on Liv. Marlon Russa, the Swiss TT rider, she was chasing, I think, in the group behind. And then you got the Bosberg coming up. They hit the Bosberg, Van der Breggen attacks, Kopecky tries to close it down, but just Van der Breggen, once you lose her wheel, even a bike length off, it's trouble. She's a double world champ, ITT2, and there's a reason for that. And if you're riding one-on-one against her, and it was Kopecky, she can just ITT away from you. And at the minute that gap started opening up on the Bosberg, 13 Ks to the finish, I was like, this is trouble. Everyone's been tired, chasing down Vollering for 12, 13 kilometers. And did you think Liv had any chance, Benji, with 11 Ks to go?
No, I watched women's cycling last year too, and I think every single time this happened, she was gone. So I had a calculated bet in my mind. Yeah, this is not coming back, and I just didn't believe in it because Kopecki's the strongest of the lift team, and if she can't hold the gap, then why would the domestiques of the likes of Kopecky do it? So yeah, I didn't see this coming back together. I did see that the gap was pretty strong at a certain point. I think it went up to like 30, 40 seconds at a certain point, but it started coming down into the last 5 kilometers. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it went down to like a good 25 seconds for the last kilometer or something.
I'd already organised Van der Breggen's inauguration, so I was like, "This is over." So I wasn't checking the time. I didn't check the time gaps in like the last 5. I haven't written them down either. I was like, "This is done." I think the other teams also figured out it was pretty much done and started attacking for podium places. Cecilia Ludwig, I think, started pulling for FDJ for Marta Valley. Cohesion broke down with 7 Ks to go, and yeah, that's when the gap expanded. Grace Brown attacked, trying to bridge. She did a pretty good job last year in Brabantse-Pijl. And Liège, she tried to catch Deignan when she tried to attack across, and nearly did so. She had a few more Ks. She was marked by Amy Peters, again, SD Worx, and Van der Breggen walked it in, pretty much. There was a reduced bunch sprint for second. Norsgaard won that reduced bunch sprint, the Danish national champion. Amy Peters third, so SD Worx double podium. Lotte Kopecky worked hard all day, looked very strong, unlucky not to get a podium spot, fourth. But a pretty good race, Benji. The only notable name missing is probably Van Vleuten from that group. And I think to bring back someone like Van der Breggen, you do need someone like Van Vleuten, especially when SD Worx had spent the last half an hour to 45 minutes working over and softening up Liv and the other teams. That's the beauty. I think SD Worx are we said in the preview, Benji. Go and listen to our SD Worx preview if you haven't already. It's been pretty popular. Vollering is huge addition to this team, 24 years old. And yeah, what did you see from Vollering today? And do you think she's going to be winning more races this year than last year?
Yeah, I certainly do. I think she's in a team that she's in a better position to be able to make these kind of moves and is a pawn in the tactic of SD Worx this time around. She attacks early. She's good at the hills. She gets away on those. She has a gap. If it comes back together, it comes back together. If it doesn't, she wins. I think we're going to see that quite a few times. She's also relatively amazing on the likes of Flèche Wallonne. We saw that last year. So on those hilly parkours, the punchy races, she's going to be up there with the best. Obviously, she's got the other best with her in the team. So whether they have to decide at a certain point who to go for, I don't know yet. It depends on the situation in the race. Likely the decision would go towards Anna van der Breggen in the majority of the races, I would expect. But all in all, she's so young and she's already proving herself so worthy for a team like this. And with performances like today, she's definitely going to make herself more known. And yeah, I think she might be the next Anna van der Breggen / Van Vleuten at a certain point because she's really moving up that way, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely, and a good climber as well. So I should probably read out the full results. Van der Breggen first, Norsgaard second, Peters third, Kopecky fourth, Hannah Barnes, the British rider for Canyon SRAM, fifth, Marta Bastianelli for Ali BTC Ljubljana sixth, Elisa Brennauer, not so strong today, seventh, Grace Brown eighth, Marta Cavalli ninth, and then Lisa Longo Borghini was 10th, but that was in a second group behind the first group. So Brennauer, Benji, she won the Vuelta Ferratisit Challenge last year. I was struggling to pick her out, and when we look at her results, 7th Omloop, that looks okay, but she was following wheels all day, and I think clearly we're hyping up Vollering, and comparing her to other riders. She was clearly stronger than Brennauer today. Likewise, though, Lotte Kopecky was probably stronger than Vollering, honestly, but if you're having to close all these gaps and mark Van der Breggen and Vollering yourself, you're going to get pretty tight. So it's going to be a tough season for every other team that's not named SD Worx this year because Ardennes, those two are going to be lethal, as Benji said, Van der Breggen and Vollering. Harder cobbles like Kent Wevelgem, you got Chantal van den Broek Black and Julianne Dor. what do you do, Benji? How do you approach this race if you're a DS, not of SD Worx, to maximise your chance of winning? Do you try and send your strong riders into a break early?
It depends on the riders, to be honest, and you need to apply it onto situations that are formed by SD Worx at this point, because they are kind of leading they're composing the race for you, and they do stuff that leads to, for example, one of the riders attacking and their entire team basically stopping the group behind them. You either have to be with that attack, but you can't be with every attack because, for example, if following in this situation attacks, and if you have a situation where your rider is with following there, then that's great. But the problem is, once those get caught, they have someone else to attack again. You likely don't. So you're in a very difficult situation to spell how to ride this race against the SD Worx before the race even starts. And I think it really depends on in which situation you land. I could not name a tactic right now to say, this is the perfect way to beat Anna van der Breggen, because clearly no one has achieved it.
I know, it's tough. And it's crazy that she's retiring at the end of this year. She could clearly keep riding, keep winning for many years to come. But that's been our Omloop Het Nieuwsblad women's recap. A pretty exciting finale too, and I do like the fact that they have it straight after the men's race as well. Although it was a long day of watching cycling for me. But that's been our recaps of Omloop and both men and women's. I've got to go to sleep, Benji, because it's 4 a.m. We can do the UAE tour tomorrow with Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. Otherwise, I might not even make it to watch Kuurne, Brussels, Kuurne. I'm sure people will forgive me, but if not, just feel free to roast me in the YouTube comments. I'm sure most of you love doing that sort of thing. Thanks to the call for supporting the podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow with some more jam-packed Sunday racing. Ciao.